Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Telescope Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Everyone in this place, if you can do a handstand, I want to see your feet up in the air right now. Wave them around, that's right.
Hello, welcome to the Telescope Podcast, the show where we look at geek culture through the spyglass of faith. Today I'm going to be talking about The Flash, Season 4. I'm going to be talking about dark matter, and of course, we'll be bringing forth the telescope. Hope your summer's going well. Summer's flying by. Last night we were watching reruns of The Crocodile Hunter. If you remember Steve Irwin, and I love that guy. He's nuts, man. He was just a crazy guy and died tragically. Made me think, maybe I should steal some of his moves, like as I'm talking about The Flash, I could be like, Episode 4. Oh, it was a beauty. It was a gorgeous episode, right? He's always grabbing the snakes. He literally, on this episode we watched, he literally grabbed the most venomous snake on the planet because they went to the interior of Australia where there's a whole bunch of super poisonous snakes. Grabs this thing by the tail, lifts it up, does his, snake whisper thing to calm it down, and then he's literally like, oh, look at the gorgeous markings. If this thing bit me, I'd drop dead right here in the desert. It was crazy, and I really enjoyed it. So, well, those lovely chimes mean it is time for our science segment. Who doesn't love science? I know Steve Irwin probably loved science because he loved nature. Well, anyway, today I'm talking about dark matter, and I found this great story on nature.com titled Hunt for Dark Matter Turns to Ancient Materials, and then the subheading is Kilometers beneath Earth's surface, some materials could bear the scars of collisions with dark matter. And basically, the story details how these scientists think they can find evidence of collisions with dark matter, but to do so, they have to get material from super deep in the Earth because the Earth is bombarded with cosmic radiation that could throw off their experiment. And they're looking for sodium chloride and lithium carbonate. I guess those are specific elements that could have the signs of dark matter from the past. And I found this story interesting because I knew I was talking about The Flash Season 4. And of course, if you know The Flash, The Flash got his powers from dun-dun-dun, dark matter. Just sounds cooler when you say it in a low whispery voice. Dark matter. And dark matter is a real thing. And there's a great little paragraph in this story. Here it is. Astronomers can detect the gravitational influence of dark matter on the motion of galaxies and galactic clusters, but have never been able to spot it directly. The prevailing explanation for dark matter is that it's made of material known as weakly interacting massive particles, or WIMPs, which interact with normal matter mainly through gravity. Direct detection experiments aim to find the faint after effects of WIMPs colliding with the nuclei of atoms in materials such as germanium, silicon, sodium iodine inside a detector. So there you go. There's a good description of what dark matter is and what they're looking for in these different compounds inside the Earth. Now, what's cool is they're going to use holes that are already there. There's a lot of companies that have done excavation, like for oil, for example. So they're going to use these super, super deep holes that have been drilled, and they're going to extract materials, and they're going to look at them under electron microscopes, X-ray machines. They're going to X-ray them. They're going to use ultraviolet 3D scanners, and this is my favorite one. They're going to use atomic force microscopes. So many amazing sci-fi words in this story, right? Dark matter, solar radiation or cosmic radiation, all the elemental names, and atomic force microscope. I mean, glorious. If you were a tech writer for Star Trek, like with the job of filling in the mumbo jumbo for them to say, this story would be a cornucopia for you to pick from. Well, good luck, scientists. I hope you find evidence of dark matter, because that would be super cool. All right, well, with that, let's talk about The Flash. The Flash, Season 4. So if you're a fan of The Flash, you will love The Flash Season 4. At first, it took me a little while to warm up to The Flash. I've just never been able to really embrace the Arrow, that show, or Legends of Tomorrow. But The Flash wormed its way into my heart. The ensemble of characters I came to enjoy after I, endured a few episodes and kind of got the feel of the show, and I followed it. And so this Flash Season 4, if I had to sum it up in a brief statement, I would say this: it's as cheesy as ever, and it's an entertaining breath of fresh air. I really have positive feelings for The Flash Season 4, but first, I'm going to go through a few of the things I didn't care for so much, and then I'll go through the things I did care for. And I will say up front, I am going to do a spoiler-free show today, so I'm not going to go into a lot of depth or go into specifics. So if you have not watched the season, this will just get you pumped up to watch it. It won't spoil anything big. All right, and if I spoil something small by accident, I apologize, but trust me, it's worth it to keep listening. Okay, so here are the things I didn't like so much about The Flash Season 4. Number one, the show is as sappy as ever. And this is just something that's part of the DNA of the show. Every show has something I jokingly call the synthesizer scene, right? Where, a couple characters have some kind of deep, heart-to-heart, man-to-man type conversation. And there's usually some tears shed, and there's usually some I love you mans, and, some real talk. And, this season's no different. And it's okay. It's just part of what the show is. And, it's a little sappy, but it's okay. Not a huge fan of it, but it's okay. The next thing I didn't care for how they used the Kid Flash character, and how they handled him. And I'm not going to go into detail, obviously. The character's super cool, and I know they're using him in other areas of the DC universe. So that's awesome. That's awesome that Kid Flash is getting screen time and doing some cool things in the DC universe. But yeah. Next, I'm just going to say Episode 1. I watched Episode 1 and I was just like, really? It set up for other episodes, so, it kept me going. And, but just, how they kick off the season, I didn't love it. I will say the rest of the season definitely redeems Episode 1. Okay, what did I like? I pretty much liked all the other story arcs. And what I liked was there were some really great character arcs. Like each character, or in some cases pairs of characters, they all had these really great story arcs throughout the season, and I really liked it. So I'm just going to go through some of them and not try not to give too much away. So first of all, Barry and Iris. Just in case you didn't know, Barry is the Flash. Okay, yeah, Barry and Iris, the Flash and Iris. In this season, I felt like they had the best chemistry they've ever had. I don't know. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say their chemistry has ever been terrible. It's definitely not been that, but in this season, I just felt like their chemistry was a bit better. Joe and Cecilia, they have amazing chemistry, even better than Barry and Iris, I think. And I particularly like how they used Cecilia's character in this season. I thought there were some nice surprises, and she's a character who could easily be just kind of a side character, she's just Joe's girl, just kind of like the relationship could just be there to make stuff with Joe more interesting, but they really fleshed out her character in this season and really made her stand on her own, and I really liked what they did with her this season. The next thing, the fact that Barry is no longer moping about his mom, that drove me nuts in season 3. It was like, come on, bro. You're like, okay, I understand that you broke up about your mom. I mean, that's a big deal, but he was pretty young. He's an adult. The first couple seasons, it was cool. I understand the whole, being obsessed to find your mom's killer thing, kind of goes into adulthood. But, by season 3, I was like, all right, I'm ready to be done with the whole mom thing. Okay. I loved Clifford DeVoe, the big bad, the thinker. That's what they named him. It was so good. And this is what really gave the season a breath of fresh air. The fact that they had a big bad who was not an evil speedster. Not an evil speedster. It was so nice. It was so cool. So interesting. And I also loved that he was a bad guy that you could sympathize with. So this is a trend. You saw it in Avengers Infinity War with Thanos and how Thanos' goals were misguided but understandable. You could at least understand that he thought he was doing a good thing ultimately and making the hard choice to make it happen. And in this case, it's kind of similar, okay? And so I really like that. And you really, he's got some vulnerability. Reminds me a little of Kylo Ren's character, right, in Star Wars, how he's got a vulnerable side. So, yeah, love Clifford DeVoe, the big bad of this season. Killer Frost, a.k.a. Caitlin. They just did some cool things with her. And right at the end of the season, there is some amazing things they throw in there that make you go, huh? That are total setups for season 5. So I really like that. Loved her character. She definitely went to a new level from just being a nerd in the office to, it was great. So I can't say too much more. Harrison Wells. This is right up there with Clifford DeVoe with how much I like it. Now, every season, because of different things like time travel and the multiverse, Tom, I don't know how to say his last name, Tom Cavanagh, Tom Cavanagh. It seems like every season he gets to play like a new version of Harrison Wells. And in this season, he gets to play 7 versions of Harrison Wells. And I love it. It was just a really cool thing that they brought in, and you just have to watch it to understand what I mean. So it was awesome. Love it. And the last thing, which I already alluded to, was just there was a great setup for season 5. There was like this kind of mystery character that they brought in right at the end, and you learn who they are, and it's like, whoa, and you can totally see how it's going to set up for season 5. And like I mentioned, there's stuff with Killer Frost. There's even some stuff with the big bad that you're left wondering, have we really seen the last of him? So that's close to a spoiler, but I'm not going to say anything else. All right, well, with that, it is time to
Bring forth the telescope!
Well, this is the show where we look at geek culture through the spyglass of faith. In 1 Corinthians 8:1, the second half of the verse says, "Knowledge puffs up, while love builds up." And it even rhymes, which is nice and cute. But this is the theme that really was brought out in The Flash Season 4. The theme of, if your intellect is divorced from your heart, you're going to become a cold person. And you're going to miss so much in life. And you'll probably, get off track and do some things you regret, because you need both the mind and the heart. And this is the theme that was in Jesus' ministry. Jesus railed against the religious elite who were so intellectual and so cerebral, but they had lost the heart of God, and they had lost the heart for the people that they were supposed to be, teaching and pastoring and leading. And Jesus really was a reformer in that area to bring people back to what God's heart was, as well as correcting ideas and things like that. But, Jesus really showed a lot of heart in his ministry. I mean, you can see it by the very fact that he chose 12 disciples and he kept them with him all the time. Night and day, he was constantly mentoring, constantly teaching, constantly putting them to work so that when he was crucified, died, rose, and then ascended, that they could pick up the baton and establish the church. I love how Jesus said to Peter, on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. He's building on the rock of the revelation of Jesus and on the rock of the apostles, and so it's a powerful thing. There's a classic story of Zacchaeus, right? Remember the little kid story? Zacchaeus was a wee little man, right? Zacchaeus, he's up in the tree. He was a despised individual because he was a tax collector, and he worked for the Romans, and of course the Jews didn't like that very much because he was collecting taxes from his own people and giving them to the dirty Romans. And you know the story. Zacchaeus, he was short. He climbs into the tree to see Jesus. Jesus says, "Come on down, Zacchaeus, because I need to go to your house today." Zacchaeus brings him in. He says, "Lord, if I have," and see if I can get this exactly right. I may not, so give me a little grace here. But he basically says, "Lord, if I've cheated anyone, I pay back, fourfold, and I'm giving half my goods to the poor, and I'm coming to you." Basically, I'm making a turnaround. It was literally his come to Jesus moment, right? And Jesus was just so pleased by that. He said, "Salvation has come to you today, Zacchaeus. You got it. You got it," because Zacchaeus, he understood with his mind, but he also, it got into his heart, and his heart just overflowed with a new generosity, where he had been a stingy, mean-spirited tax collector who was probably a bully. In fact, he was a chief tax collector. So he not only, was collecting taxes himself, but he had other people trained to do that job, and they were probably bullies. They were probably nasty, but he really had a heart change. And so, that's a great theme from the Gospels and also from The Flash Season 4. Hey, I'm going to call that good. I'm going to wrap this show up. Thanks again for listening. It really brings joy to my heart to see people consume these episodes and hopefully get something positive out of them. And it's very fun for me to do so. Thanks again for listening. If you want to hop on Facebook, it's My Savior's Anthem Music and Podcasting. My website is mysaviorsanthem.com. You can email me at mysaviorsanthem@gmail.com. So thanks again, Matthew Seipel Anderson.
What's up, everybody? Everyone in this place, if you can do a handstand, I want to see your feet up in the air right now.